I still can't wrap my mind around how we're 2 to 3 weeks in to summer of anime 2015. Because it feels like time is just flying on by. It really does. But anyways, let's talk about Jitsu. Strangely enough, I'm really liking this series. Even though it is a harem series, and I'm seeing the outcome of it so far, I'm enjoying it, unexpectedly. I didn't think I would enjoy this series to this extent. I did talk about it in my first impressions that I haven't seen a romance vampire series like this in a while. It's been a long time. And to see how the series is progressing, it reminds me a lot of some romance manga I have read, for instance, Rosario plus Vampire. And I'm liking that. I really am. I mean, it doesn't have as much fan service, which I expected a lot of fan service, but it doesn't. So that's actually a plus, because we have a tame series that's going to have a harem. It's very obvious that this is developing into a harem, especially with the girl at the end of this episode that was doing something with food, and then also with our little alien girl in this episode. It's very obvious that this is turning into a harem. But first thing I want to tackle is just how cute this series is and how good it's doing when it comes to the execution of its story. I mean, the story for the most part is very plain and generic. There's not really much to dive into and break apart because it's a stereotypical harem, romance, supernatural love story we have seen many times over. But as I've said many times, doesn't mean a series is bad just because it's cliche. It does not mean that. It comes down to execution. And so far, I am liking the execution of Jitsu because the characters are very quirky. I think that's one of the main reasons why I'm liking this series so much, and that's very obvious why, because when it comes to series that are very generic, usually with the plot, it's mainly the characters that hold up these type of series. Each of these characters have their own quirky personality about them that makes them very unique from one another, that plays upon each other to where you can have some really interesting dynamics between the characters. Like, you know, getting to see our main female character that's a vampire, seeing how her voice is done, like the voice actor of her, I feel like the way she is portrayed as a vampire, it's very cool, because her voice sounds very different compared to the average voice acting you see from anime, and I'm really enjoying her style of voice. Whoever is voice acting our main female character is doing a very good job. And then I can also say the same about our robot girl in this. I mean, at first glance, it seems like she is a tsundere. Like, she is and isn't. Like, she's not a straight-up tsundere, but she kind of is, because the way she was acting, like she was getting jealous, she didn't want to admit her feelings towards our main male character, Asahi. You can assume that she's becoming a love interest and she's starting to grow jealous, even though she's unaware that she is jealous. Like, she was trying to figure out why she was feeling these emotions throughout this episode, but she didn't really understand why she had them, which leads to her coming to an understanding of learning human emotions. But back on to the episode's meaning. The main meaning of this episode you really want to take and actually grasp from the episode and pull out of it is that Asahi is learning to grow as a person to where he can have people trust in him, put their faith and trust in him. Because from what we saw in the first episode of this series, everybody knows Asahi couldn't keep secrets. Like, he's an open book, everybody can see what he thinks. For instance, if you wanted to hide that he had a birthday party gift, you know, coming up for one of his best friends, he couldn't hide that. Like, he'd be nervous, the way he acted, he'd be open up to them, and they'll be like, oh, you're getting a birthday gift for me or him, aren't you? And, you know, everybody would realize that. They couldn't really trust him with secrets because he always blurted them out. But there's also other things in the work here that I'm really starting to like. You have it to where these characters, for instance, our alien girl and then our vampire girl, they're starting to put their faith and trust in Asahi to where they are believing in him that he will not let anyone know about their secrets. And so this is actually giving some positive character development for Asahi. Actually, he's having people rely on him with their secrets. And I'm liking the way this is taking. It's actually becoming a character-driven story instead of anything else. It's a character-driven story. I am curious, though, if Jitsuwa will develop a plot. Like, you know, will it develop a story? Or is it just going to be focused around school life with these characters? That's one of my main questions I have. Because with the outcome of this episode, I just assume it's going to be about the antics of these characters, having fun, trying to keep their secret in the situation that they're in. I think that's where the story's going to go, but I do wonder if there is going to be a plot, because there is a lot of potential to be had, especially with, you know, the characters like Asahi to, you know, our vampire girl and then our robot girl. There's a lot of potential. And I do hope that it does deliver. Now, a couple of Chibits told me last week in the comments, which I want to talk about. They told me that the animation of this series is different from the manga. Like, it's not as good, or it's different, or whatever, and some didn't really like it. The manga readers didn't like it. I can understand that. I mean, if you got used to a certain art style, like, for instance, if I read Berserk, which I read Berserk, and I got used to the manga art style, and I saw it in anime form, and it looked completely different. It looked like a moe art style. Just imagine that for a moment. Just imagine Berserk's art style turn into moe. And then, I can understand the viewpoint of people if they're having an issue with the art style change. I haven't seen the manga myself, so I don't know. But they're telling me that the manga's art style of Jitsu has been changed, and it doesn't look as good as the manga. But I'll have to check one day for myself to see how it is with comparisons. But overall, I enjoyed the episode, and I felt like that's really the only thing that really matters. I mean, was the episode entertaining? Hell yes, it was, and it did its job. So, how's the adaptation? I want to ask that right now. Chibits that read the manga, besides, the art and animation being different from, the manga, like, the art style being different, how is the adaptation coming along? Is it rushed? Is it good? Is it taking time to develop? Please let me know, honestly. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.